Hey everybody, this is Ron. I'm back for another one. This time around I'm going to show some garage, I'm going to show some folk rock, I'm going to show some prog psych. I tried to pick some things that were interesting, maybe stuff that hasn't been shown a lot on YouTube. I still have a lot of the psych standards, you know, but I'll get around to those eventually, but I'm just trying to pick some things that are pretty interesting and be fun to show. So, let's get started. Start off with some garage, and what better band to start off with than the Sonics. And this is their first album, 1965, on Etiquette, and lucky enough to get a stereo copy of this. And stereo is what you want for this album, as it was released in true stereo. Mono's cool for garage, you know, but I mean, we're pretty lucky that this album came out in true stereo, so I feel pretty pleased to have it. And I'll show a close-up of the label. Yeah, these guys were pretty much the innovators, man. They broke ground on the whole garage punk movement. Heavily influenced by Little Richard, and they took that hard, heavy R&B sound that Little Richard had, and made it a little more white. You know, added some gritty Stones bass guitar work and that kind of thing, and just come up with a really cool sound. And I got the second album too, and it's Sonic Boom, and this is on Etiquette as well. Came out in '66, purple label, and this copy is mono, and mono is what you want on this album, as the stereo copies were fake rechanneled stereo. And I don't know why they did that. Maybe it was just within the budget to do it that way rather than to go through the expense of mixing it in true stereo. But yeah, mono's cool. And I got the first Seeds albums, and I've got 4 different copies, and this is the first pressing of the mono, and you notice there's no Pushing Too Hard banner, and the upside down reversed Seeds name is in black instead of light green. And I'll show the label. It's on the blocked crescendo label. Yeah, I see a lot of sellers on eBay, you know, claiming to have the original first pressing of this album, when in reality it's not. This is. The second pressing monos did not have the black, and they added Pushing Too Hard on the cover. This is a stereo copy, and I don't think this ever had the black lettering. I think all the stereos were always green. This has got the little different label variation. It's the arched crescendo with the heavy stereophonic lettering at the bottom. And then this is another stereo copy, and it's got rubber stamps on here that say sample, not for sale. So it was like a designated promo at one time. And an unusual thing with this is it's got a paste-on sticker right here that says "Can't Seem to Make You Mine." So that's kind of rare. And it's on the same label as the previous one that I showed. And then this is the Record Club edition that I showed on a previous video. And I want to get a little better shot of the label because it didn't turn out too good in the other video. So I can get a nice close-up for you guys. Pretty unique label. Alright, this is 96 Tears, Question Mark and the Mysterians, first album. And this is their second album, Action. And this one is true stereo, and this one's in mono. And this one has a embossed X inside of a diamond right here, which signifies a promotional copy. And these are just classic albums here, man. Mexican Americans that came out of Michigan, they moved to Texas, and they had their own sound. They created an amazing sound, and they were doing some reunion gigs in the 90s, I remember, and I was really hoping they would come to Phoenix, and they never did. So I'll probably never get a chance to see them, but it would be fun to see those guys. This is Music Machine, and this is a rare stereo copy. Most of the copies you see of this are in mono, and it's on the original sound label. And I was checking out some Music Machine videos on YouTube, and there's some really cool videos. You should check those out. Talk, Masculine Intuition, good stuff. And it's on the original sound label. And you notice around the border of the label there's those little lines. And you can check your speed of your turntable with those lines. If you have an adjustable control for your speed on your turntable, you can stare at a certain area, and if your turntable is running too fast, it'll move this way, and if it's like too slow, it'll be moving the other way. So to get it in sync, you focus on a line. It's like an optical illusion. You focus on a line, and as soon as it hits the dead center, it'll give the impression that the line is not moving. It's just floating there, and that tells you that it's set at exactly 33 1/3 RPM. And there's some writing down at the bottom of this. Let's see. Yeah, it says, when lines appear to stand still, record is revolving at exactly 33 1/3 RPM. So they even have that printed on the label. This is the second Music Machine, Bonnewell Music Machine, and this came out in I believe 67, and I don't think it's the original band. I think the band broke up. They broke up after the first album. 3 of the members went into the Millennium Project, and I think Bonnewell got a different band together and did this album. There's a couple of scorchers on here, Double Yellow Line and Eagle Never Hunts the Fly. It's on the gold Warner Brothers label. There's some pretty good solid album, all originals I believe, and I don't like it as much as the first album. The first album is just classic, even though it has some cover versions on it. I mean, just the artwork of the cover and the whole, the whole presentation is just really cool. And during the course of the first album, all the guys in the band wore one leather glove. And if you check out the videos, you can see that. So that's definitely nothing that Michael Jackson started. And Gene Vincent actually wore one leather glove. I'm showing a French album that has a photo from, I believe it's the '69 UK tour. And you can see that he's wearing a leather glove. And then if you look down here at his boot, it's got this weird heel right in the middle of the bottom of the sole. And what happened was he was in a motorcycle accident in 1955, and it totally shattered his left leg. And actually the doctors wanted to amputate, and he wouldn't let them. So for the rest of his life, he went through pain, and he had to wear a steel brace. And even though his legs were the right length, you know, as far as the left and the right, I believe why that heel is on the bottom of his boot, this is just a guess, but I think it's because it helped control the pain. The extra elevation on his hip, it probably alleviated a lot of the pain it is going through. So yeah, this is a pretty interesting photo of him, I think, wearing the leather glove and the special boot. This is the Nightcrawlers, Little Black Egg, and this is excellent garagey folk rock, and they were out of Florida, and they had 5 singles. And what this album is all those singles. It's not a really, although it doesn't point this out in the Acid Archives, this is not a true Nightcrawlers album. It's just, there are 5 singles, both sides put together on an album. And luckily the copy that I got is in mono, and that's what you want, because the stereo is fake rechanneled stereo. It's got the minor hit Little Black Egg on here, and very weird lyrics. I would say that it's about a person with a pretty strange psychosis. You know, somebody who's psychotic, and interesting lyrics, pretty strange. Good one to get. It's on the Cap label. This is the 5 Americans, I See the Light, and you might be familiar with the title track, just killer garage. And these guys were out of Texas, and they were kind of garagey folk rockers. And this is the first album, and after this album they got less garagey. And this one's in mono, which sounds a lot better than the stereo mix. And it's a white label promo label. And you can get this through Sundays. They reissued it using the mono masters. So, real good, strong album. And this is the Rose Garden, and this is a male-female folk rock outfit, probably West Coast, Atco, 1968, and there's like 6 songs on here that are really outstanding. And the way that I outlined them was I actually put marks on a plastic sleeve so that when I pull the album out, I automatically know what are the really good songs on this. And I've done that on a few of my albums. You know, say if I have an album that's only got like 2 or 3 good songs, and it's possible to do it, I will mark the sleeve, which outlines them. I believe there's there's 2 Gene Clark songs on here that are worth the price of admission for this LP. Just outstanding Gene Clark. And they're tracks that the Byrds didn't do, and they're tracks that he didn't do as a solo artist. So this one's just, I mean, if you're a Byrds fan, just, I mean, this is the one for you guys, because those Clark tracks are excellent. This is a male-female Jefferson Airplane styled rock group, Ivory, and it came out in 1968. And this is a white label promotional copy, and it's all originals, and executive producer Al Smith, he also produced the Jefferson Airplane, and it's on the Tetragrammaton label, which was co-owned by Bill Cosby. And good album. I found this in a thrift store, and it's real nice condition. Not really an easy album to come by. So, good solid album. Ivory. This is Genesis, and this is an LA Genesis. Jefferson Airplane styled male-female LP. Pretty good, solid album. And it's on the Mercury label. I have a 70s reissue on the Skyscraper label, but originally it was on the red Mercury label. It had a rough textured cover. This is smooth cover. There's one outstanding long track on here. It's called World Without You. It's like 16 minutes long, and it's just got this really top-notch psychedelic guitar solos on it. It's really cool. And they do a cover version of Suzanne by Leonard Cohen. Stanley Mouse, the poster artist, did the lettering on this album. Just a real cool album to search out. And this is a anti-drug compilation that had big name acts on it. Came out in 1969. I guess it's originally it's called Speed Kills. Well, I guess it's called First Vibration, but there's two different versions of this cover. One says Speed, it's the one I've got, and then another one says Speed Kills. It's got Animals, Beatles, Buffalo Springfield, Birds, Jefferson Airplane, Things to Come, Jimi Hendrix, Canned Heat, Peanut Butter Conspiracy. A lot of big names. And some of the tracks are kind of rare obscurities. And, you know, a lot of people want this because it's got the Beatles on it doing Nowhere Man. But to me, the real gem on here is by Genesis. And it's a song that's not on the album that I just showed you. And it's not on a 45 either. And it's called The Long Road. And it's just a good song, man. It's definitely doesn't sound like a throwaway track or anything like that. So yeah, this is not very common. There's another Do It Now compilation that's pretty common. You've probably seen it around. But this one's not so common. This is Ford Theater on ABC. And this is just heavy organ, progressive psych. Come out in '68. And a real good, solid album. And I believe these guys were from Boston. And so this is a good one to search out. It's a trilogy for the masses. And I got their second album too, and this one's real disappointing. It's probably better left alone. It actually sounds like it might have been recorded before that album, because it's more of an earlier style, and it's kind of a rock opera. But there is one song on here that's killer. It's actually called Jefferson Airplane, and that song alone makes the album worth owning. So if you can ever pick this up cheaply, you know, you can do so, because you'll get a really good song out of it. Being called Jefferson Airplane, it's pretty cool. This is kind of a guilty pleasure of mine that I recently picked up, and it's the Lemon Pipers Green Tambourine. And I had this back in the 80s, and I dumped it. And I always remembered that there was a few good songs on here. So I came across it the other day. It was only $5, so I decided to pick it up. And there's a couple of cool garagey fuzz rockers on here. And there's actually one outstanding long killer Psych track. It's like 8.5 minutes long, and it's called Through With You, and it closes side 2. And it's just got this real upbeat rhythm through the whole thing, and then it's got really cool psychedelic guitar that weaves in and out through your speakers, and it's got vocal, a little bit of vocal, but it's mainly instrumental based, and just a really cool Psych tune. I really like it. And this is the first Steppenwolf. And you'll notice this doesn't have the banner that says "Pushing" or "Born to Be Wild" on it. And yeah, this is the one that everybody wants here. And the only thing probably better than this would be the mono copy, and I've never even actually ever seen one of those. And there was always a rumor going around that this was like giant marijuana in the back of them, but you know, that's just bullshit. But yeah, this is a pretty cool one to have. And then I got the second one, and this is a Record Club edition made by Capitol Records. And instead of being on ABC Dunhill, it's on the just on Dunhill, and it's kind of the label that's on the Mamas and Papas albums. So that's pretty unique. I've pretty much had all the basic Steppenwolf albums, but over the years I've gotten rid of them. I just have the first 2 now, and I was actually lucky enough to see John Kane Steppenwolf a couple of times in the 80s, and yeah, he was really good. I'm glad that I had an opportunity to see him. This is Randy Holden, Population 2. And this is a mega rare album, and unfortunately I don't have an original copy. This is like a late 80s Euro counterfeit, exact reproduction, and it's on the Hobbit label, which is the same label that the Sapphire Thinkers were on. And now this is mega rare and mega killer. This album just is outstanding, and he does a cover version of Fruit and Icebergs, which is on the 3rd Blue Cheer album when he was with them. Actually, probably the Blue Cheer version's better, but this is a good version on here too. And it's actually just Randy and the Cack drummer, but that's why it's called Population 2, because there's only 2 members. But just as a wall of guitar sound on it. This is an awesome album. And this last one I want to show is the first Spirit album, 1967, on Ode. And this is a real common album, you know. I'm sure most of you guys know this, but I wanted to talk about Spirit a little bit. There's a song on here, and it's called Taurus. And unfortunately, Randy's estate, his good family, has chosen to sue Led Zeppelin. And I don't know if the lawsuit has been settled yet, but it was pending a while back. And it really pisses me off, because Randy was a good person. And I'm sure that he knew about the similarity between Taurus and Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, and he chose not to do anything about it. But his good family has chosen to sue Zeppelin. And you know, I've had this album a long time, and I never really caught the similarity myself, but then again, I may not have been listening all that close. But if you go on YouTube, there was someone that had a video comparing Taurus and Stairway to Heaven side by side. And is a very, very close resemblance between Taurus and the opening part of Stairway to Heaven, the acoustic part. And yeah, it just pisses me off because, you know, Randy's passed on now. Ed Cassidy's gone too, so they don't have any say in it. And, you know, it just reeks of being greedy, money-hungry family members to me. And I'm sure if Randy knew about it, he wouldn't be very pleased about it. And I was lucky to see Spirit a few times. I saw them twice in the 80s, and the last time I saw them was in 1993. And the first two times that I saw them was in outdoors shopping center parking lot. It was like a Oktoberfest celebration. And this had been probably about 86, 87, right in there. And it was just Randy California and Ed Cassidy, the original members, and he had some other people with him. But boy, they were just excellent, just outstanding show. And I remember when it got to the last number that they wanted to do, they ripped into Wild Thing by the Trogs. And that was just outstanding. And the second time I saw him, it was either a year or 2 years later. It was the same thing. It was Oktoberfest. Basically the same show. You know, and it got down to the end of the show again, you know, and Randy yelled out, "Hey, any requests out there?" And after about 5-10 seconds, nobody really yelled anything, you know. So I had remembered that they had done Wild Thing, so I yelled out, "Wild Thing!" And so Randy turned around to Ed and said something to him, and all of a sudden I heard the opening power riffs of Wild Thing. And I thought, man, that was just so thrilling for me. That was just too cool. And you know, it's really a tragic thing that happened to Randy. Many of you may know that he did drown, and he drowned in the late 90s while surfing on vacation with his family. And you know, the thing is, you hear about all these rock stars that die tragically, drugs, tragic accidents, killing themselves, you know, whatever. But how many rock stars do you know of that died a hero? Well, Randy did. He died quite the hero. He was surfing with his son, and his son got caught in a riptide. And Randy swam out to save him. And they both got pulled away, and their bodies have never been recovered. It's a really sad thing because Randy was a really good person, you know. It really pains me, you know. But yeah, the last time that I saw him, it was in a small bar in Phoenix in '93, and I was sitting there at the bar, kind of facing out towards the stage, and I saw Randy walking in the door, and I yelled out, "Hey Randy!" And he stopped, and he had a big smile on his face, and he stuck his hand out, and he shook my hand, and I just thought that was just so cool. Those guys were real, you know. They didn't have big rock star heads. Him and Ed both. And Ed's gone too. And at the time, Ed Cassidy was 70 years old. And that guy beat those drums like he was a young man. It just knocked my socks off. And after the show, they hung around and they mingled with everybody and signed autographs, and And I talked to Ed a little bit, and I talked to Randy too, and those are just good memories, you know, that I had with those guys. And I know those people, they were good people. And like I said, it just pisses me off that his family is suing Zeppelin. It just, I mean, if Randy wanted to sue, he'd have done it when he was alive, because I'm sure he knew the resemblance of those tracks. I'm sure he knew it. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there and talk about those guys a little bit. You know, I'm not like mega huge fans, but I like Randy California quite a bit. So, well, that's it for this time around, guys, and take care till next time.